closed session. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Sorry about that, Madam Chair. Certification of closed sessions pursuant to subsection 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. Each member of the Board of Supervisors upon roll call certifies that to the best of their knowledge, only public business matters were lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters were identified in the motions by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the Board of Supervisors. Any member of the Board of Supervisors who believes that there was a departure from the requirements shall state so prior to the vote, indicating the substance of the departure that in his or her judgment has taken place. Are there any supervisors who believe a departure has taken place? Being none, if you agree that the matters heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting were pursuant only to the motions by which the closed meeting was convened, please signify by saying yea or yes. Tim Lovelace.
Yes.
Luann Wallace.
Yes.
Carl Ray.
Yes.
David Eden.
Yes.
Steve Breeding.
Yes.
Forrest Christian.
Yes.
Rebecca Dye.
Yes.
Ma'am, you have approval to return to regular session.
All right, thank you. First, we have our invocation by Mr. Danny Breeding from Bradshaw Memorial Church. We'll have our invocation to remain standing for the pledge, please. Mr. Breeding.
Our Lord said that where two or three are gathered together, that I'll be in the midst of them. And today, brothers and sisters, as we bow to ask the Lord's blessing on this solemn gathering and ministering the business of our county for our people, I pray that all the hope that each and every one of you have is placed in Him. Let's pray. Our kind and most righteous Heavenly Father, we humbly bow before you, Lord, this evening. So grateful, Father, for your loving grace and your mercy. Father, for the gathering and the opportunity just to be with your people at this time, knowing, Lord, that your people have desired to call upon you to look down upon us and to direct each and every one of us, Lord, in peaceful manner, to bring forth, Lord, business that affects our people, Lord, in a kindly way. And we pray, Heavenly Father, your divine providence toward our people throughout this county and throughout this state and throughout this country and throughout the world. May you bless and keep each one by your open hand of love and grace. And Father, may these folks that are gathered to serve us, Lord, may we remember that you've appointed the governments in this world and you uphold them, Lord. And may we remember also in difficult times that we look up to you, Father, in hope. For we know, Father, according to the prophet Isaiah, that those that hope in you shall renew their strength. They shall soar on eagle's wings, and they shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and not faint. Lord, we pray that you'll be with this gathering this evening. Be with the folks, Lord, throughout our communities that are in sickness and in need, impoverished. Those, Father, that don't have this hope or don't seem to have it. We pray, Father, that you'll direct, especially this business, to be compassionate and reach out to all of those. We ask, Father, that you just grant to us now this instruction and these blessings in the name of our Father and of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
need a motion to approve the agenda, but we do have 2 items that need to be amended. We need to remove Rick Barton with Cleveland Trail proposals, and we need to add number 6, request library appropriations. So at this time, do we have a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Lou, thank you. A second?
Second.
Carl? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we'll change those 2 things. Our first thing tonight, I'm really proud and pleased to have Phoenix Fleming with the Russell County Animal Shelter fundraiser at Lebanon Middle School. So Phoenix, if you would step forward, please. Let's brag on this little girl. Community Service Award. She is a 5th grade student at Lebanon Middle School. Her parents are George and Alice Fleming. And Phoenix got the idea of making slime from YouTube. How much mess did you make in the kitchen? She decided to make some for sale to raise money for a worthy cause. She raised $50 selling slime to her fellow classmates at Lebanon, and she purchased 4 bags of cat food and 4 bags of dog food, and she donated it to our animal shelter. Mr. Breeding, she's at Lebanon Middle School. Would you care to give that? And stay put for pictures, please. We want those for the paper. Let's give her a big hand.
When I saw this on Facebook that Phoenix had done this, I said, well, there's another example of this exceptional youth we have here in Russell.
Right.
And that was such a great thing for you to do. My wife just loved it. Congratulations, Phoenix. Thank you very much. We
Now,
appreciate
Phoenix, would you ever dog sit for anybody?
Come over here, Fred. Here.
Where you want?
Come on.
Yeah.
Let's get you all to kind of, I'll let you know.
You should have.
So, this is gonna be a little tricky. So, you guys stay here and we'll see what this looks like. Mr. Fruit. I'll make sure I'm not blocking anything. Okay, I think that looks great. I got everybody. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Say cheese. Good job. Thank you.
Here. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Next, we have some presentations. Dr. Meister and Josh Warner from the Russell County Animal Shelter will be doing us a presentation.
Going to give you a report. We turned in our VDAX report, which is required here.
Excuse me, I don't think the mic's what I was thinking. It's down near the bottom. Push the button.
Yeah.
I sound loud anyway. You can do that. Sure. Okay. Sorry about that.
Anywho, so yearly the animal shelter is required to submit a report to the state for the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. This year we submitted our report. We are always on time with it now. We are standing at about a 2.1% euthanasia rate. Those animals that are euthanized are due to extreme health or extreme aggressive behavior. We did not put down one healthy adoptable animal last year. We transferred 550 animals to rescue. 114 of them were reclaimed by their owners. 153 of them were adopted to county residents. We took in 857 animals, which is the highest intake in recent years that I could find. Out of that, 17 animals were euthanized. We are a member of the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies. They are the way that we are able to get our dogs to rescue and continue to stay the limited kill shelter status that we are. That membership is due. Last year they granted us a free year. This year I ask that we continue that membership. I can get with you on price and stuff. I'm not for sure of the price, but it is paramount that we have this so that we had a large animal seizure back in May. I seized 82 animals in a horrible situation. And because of our membership status, I had a group the next day down here to house 50 animals for us. Provided vet care for free, no charge to the county for 50 animals. So that is very important. The other thing that goes along with it is they have a convention. This year it's April the 1st through the 3rd. It gives me in-service, and it also allows me to be able to meet new rescues and stuff like that, and I ask that I'm able to attend this. It will be in Virginia Beach. I can get you all the details you need. With that, the other thing that I ask is that I would be more than happy to sit down with all of y'all, or I would like to update our county ordinances for the animals. Maybe we look at them and update them and stuff so that we can make sure that all animals in the county are taken care of and the taxpayers are getting what they deserve out of us. The other thing is Sandra May here. She's our biggest resource we have at the shelter. She drives 1 to 2 days a week to Stanton. She's doing a lot of the rescue and stuff now. We would not be able to do what we do without her, so she definitely needs to be publicly recognized. Also, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for their continued support so that we can continue to do the good that we do for the animals of our county. So the Board of Supervisors, I thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart to allow us to be able to do what we can do for the animal shelter.
And on my good report, I'm sorry that it's been so long to get in front of you with our schedules, but in August we were inspected by the state inspector, Ms. Hessel, and the 28th of August, and we passed inspection. So our new protocols and procedures to help prevent disease in our shelters is working. I have the best team I've ever had to work with, and Sergeant Corner and ACO Chris Bailey are doing a fantastic job. Without Sandra, we would be sunk. So I really do recognize all her efforts in keeping things going, and I thank you for the support that you have given us to continue doing the good work we do.
0 violations.
Yeah, 0 violations this year.
0 violations.
Yeah.
Wonderful, that's good news. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate your reports. Thank you, Tim.
It's nice to look forward to a report from the animal shelter compared to the way it was.
Appreciate it.
Right. Next, we have Missy Carter with the Russell County Community Work Program.
Hello. I wanted to just talk a few minutes about some of the things we've been doing with the work program. I know that I'd say by now about everybody's familiar with what we do. But for those that don't know, We are an alternative sentencing program for Russell County Circuit Court. And what I do is find people that would otherwise be getting up to a year of incarceration, and I bring them out and put them to work in the county. Some of the responsibilities they have, they cannot use drugs or they go back to jail. They can't drink. They have a 10 o'clock curfew every day. The sheriff's office is awesome to help us monitor that. We have lots of rules and regulations that they have to follow when they're with us. And I'm so happy and thankful that I have Doug Howard and Bob Gibson with me to help run the show. They do a great job, and I'm very proud to have them with me. In 2019 to 2020, from July 1st, we've had 61 new people sentenced to the program. And we still had a few carryover from that's doing some time from last year's numbers. But that has saved us over $200,000 just in jail costs alone. And we still have 5 months to go of this year. So that equals out to 4,942 days that people have worked for the county. 39,000 plus hours, which, and I know that most of the work we do is not minimum wage work, but that's the only number I have that I can base this on. That's about $286,000 worth of community service that this program has given back to the citizens of Russell County. We're very proud of that. Some of the work that we do a lot of mowing and weed eating all through the spring and summer and fall, and even winter now with this weather. We do, during Little League season, I love Little League, so I try to help out as much as we are able to with all the Little League programs in the county. And they all know how to contact me when they need something, and they do. We painted the conference center, put new carpet and flooring there. We put a lot of new flooring down in all the community centers, tried to get all of them. I think there's maybe still one that needs some work done, and we're working on that as soon as we can. We've helped, when they had the mud run again, I think is what it's called. We helped set up all the obstacles and take those down this past year. We try to help with the life-saving crews, anything they need. We have a good system going now that everybody knows who to call, when they need something, and we try to get it out to them. Some of the bigger jobs we've done this year is help them with the sheriff's office move. We've moved furniture for, oh my goodness, some people 3 or 4 times that they've moved. But we helped with the sheriff's office a lot. That was a big job. We helped with a lot of the construction there too, as well. We've tried to help the library, with both libraries. We've helped build the walking trail in Dane this past year. We helped with the fair, which shut everybody else down for a couple weeks, but the fair was really happy. It was a lot of work too. We just try to help with any of our agencies throughout the county that need something. We want to help them. One thing I'm trying to do is get more of the churches involved with our program. We've done a few construction jobs this past year, building handicap ramps and just helping clean and paint whatever the churches need. And if your church needs our help, we would love to help. If somebody wants to reach out to me, we would love to do anything that we could do there. In January, we have picked up a total of 2,640 bags of litter through the county. With the work program, I'm allowed to help any nonprofit agency or any county department that needs our help. We can't go on to personal property and clean up when things like that. We can't go on to any private property. But we can do, and we've partnered up with VDOT and the Sheriff's Office to continue our litter program through the county. And I went Thursday and took some pictures I don't know how we're gonna ever get ahead of this litter problem, but we rode around the county, and I just wanted to show y'all some pictures from Thursday, if you could just click through those. A lot of these are there's some from Drill and High Point Road, Cleveland Road. It's like we can go pick up the trash and the next day it's back. It's like it never goes away, it just reappears. So, you know, we don't have any solutions to this. We'll just keep picking up until somebody comes up with something. But I wish there was a way that we could find the people that were doing this and sentence them to the community work program to pick up trash for a few weeks. And I think it might stop or at least slow down a little. You know, these are just, they speak for themselves. I don't know what to do about this problem, but I'm open to any suggestions that anybody has. Did all the pictures come through? They did? Okay. Well, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, and it's a wonderful program. We appreciate your help. Next, we have Mr. Rob Goldsmith with People Inc. and his annual report for People Inc. in the county.
We can't hear nothing happening. You have a room full of people, we can't hear nothing. Try again.
Let's try this.
Oh, you got it now.
Yeah, I hear that. It's really hot. Got it, you got it down? She took it up where it would work. It's not working.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, I'm Rob Goldsmith, President and CEO of People Incorporated. For those of y'all that I haven't met before, take a minute or two to introduce the agency to you. For others, it's good to see you again. People Incorporated is your community action agency. We are a private nonprofit corporation, a 501c3 educational charitable organization. We have a mission of providing opportunities for economically disadvantaged people to reach their goals in order to enhance their lives, their families, and their communities. And we provide a wide array of services, most of which have a developmental character to them. We're governed by a volunteer board of directors. I want to thank you for Vicki Porter, who represents you on our board. We have a third of our board represents the 16 counties and cities that we serve. A third of our board represents the clients that we serve, and a third of our board represents the community at large. And we have people like Alice Mead, who represents the Christian Center on our board of directors. We, as I said, operate and provide a wide array of services. I apologize to you for missing, I think, the report last year. I had hoped to go to Buchanan County and come here in the same night, and got behind a bunch of people concerned about Second Amendment rights in Buchanan County, and y'all were long gone by the time I made it to Lebanon. So I apologize to you for that. In the packet of information that I left at your station, you have, in the middle is our 2019 annual report. In the right-hand sleeve of the packet, there are two annual reports for Russell County, one for 2019 and one for 2018. That's the report I was unable to get to you last year. In the other side of the packet is a copy of our 5-year strategic plan, which our board adopted this past year. And then we've got one of our agency brochures that lists all of the different programs and services that we operate. 2019 was a good year for the agency. We served just under 10,000 people. Here in Russell County, we served 955 individuals. That's a substantial increase from the year before. The year before it was 793. We helped 93 ex-offenders transition back from state prison into the community. 2 obtained employment, 3 obtained safe, affordable housing. 23 had no recidivating event for 6 months. That doesn't mean all the rest did. It means that most of the rest are still being served by us and hadn't reached the 6-month benchmark that the state sets out for us. We provided home visiting services to improve the health outcomes for 23 children and their families. We provided shelter and supportive services to 113 victims of domestic violence and or sexual assault here in Russell County, providing emergency shelter for 30 individuals and court advocacy for 65 individuals. We worked with 26 high school students whose teachers believe they have the potential to be successful in college, but they would be the first in their families. So we worked with them to help them, prepare them to go to college and be successful there. We provided our volunteers that we coordinated, provided free tax preparation services for 90 households last year. We provided services to 96 children that helped them be better prepared for entry into the public school system. We made 10 of our general personal loans, and we made 6 in a targeted program for TANF recipients to buy cars to be able to go to work. We provided housing counseling and home ownership counseling to 88 families, and 6 of those became first-time home buyers last year here in Russell County. We worked with 18 households who were homeless and helped them obtain safe, affordable housing, and helped one family avoid eviction during the year. We provided ongoing, safe, affordable rental housing to 12 households in Dant and 5 households here in Lebanon. We provided training and technical assistance to prospective entrepreneurs. We financed one business loan that year for tune of $4,500, a small loan, and they created or maintained 7 jobs in that business startup. Workforce development, I need to mention here, last year we did workforce development in the county. The Workforce Development Board will be directly, or is directly offering those services currently, so we won't be having those in future years, but the services will be here in the county and just be a different service provided for you. But during the course of the year, we worked with 13 dislocated workers, helping them get job skills for career change and find a job. We worked with 33 adults, helped them obtain job skills and employment. 21 youth were assisted in obtaining job skills. 7 earned credentials, 7 obtained employment, and 17 participants in our TANF workforce development program worked with us during the year, and 3 of those have earned a credential, a degree or certificate, and 5 so far have obtained employment. That's pretty much what we were doing here in Russell County during 2019. Let's see, I want to thank you for the resolution recognizing our 55th anniversary that you adopted last year. Appreciate that. We'll proudly display that on the walls in our offices. Wanted to mention one significant thing that we're working on here in Russell County currently, and that's working with the financing for Polycap through New Markets Tax Credit Program. We expect to close on a significant loan to them this fiscal year is what I've been told. So by June 30th, hopefully we'll get that done and help them with financing to continue their development here in Russell County. With that, sir, ma'am, I would be happy to answer any questions that any of y'all may have. And thanks for your time and thanks for your support.
Thank you, Rob. I think People Incorporated has been a mainstay here in Russell County for many, many years. It sounds like you've been plenty busy.
Well,
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Appreciate that. Thank you all.
Wonderful programs. The school system's greatly benefited from it. Next, we have Mr. Toby Edwards with the Waste Management Authority.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Toby Edwards, Executive Director of the Cumberland Plateau Waste Authority, and I'm here to discuss the user agreement. Before I do that, I'd like to give a little history. I'm a huge history nut, and I just want to talk about where we've come in the last 27 years as a waste authority. The Waste Authority was founded in 1992 by the Virginia General Assembly, formed from Buchanan, Dickinson, and Russell counties. The reason that the authority was formed was in 91 and 92, the 3 counties were facing the same issue, and that was solid waste. Their landfills were filling up, and some new regulations that were being sent down from the EPA was making the requirement a little tougher. If you got out of the landfill business, there was a 10-year cutoff that you'd have to do post-closure. If you missed that deadline, it would take it to 30 years. And so all 3 counties had a common problem, and that was what to do with their solid waste. So Andrew Chafin, then Executive Director of the Cumberland Plateau Planning District, met with 3 counties, discussed the idea of going into the, to create an authority and going into the transfer station system that we currently have today. In our 27 years history, we built 3 facilities, one in each member county. One here in Russell County is located down on 71. Most people call it going down to the old landfill, but it's in Castlewood. One in Buchanan is in Oakwood, and one in Dickinson is Fremont. In 91, we got a bond for $3.2 million to build the facilities, to buy the equipment, and to get started and get out of the landfill business. Well, that debt was paid off in 2008, that bond was. Our second bond that we got in 2009 was for $1.3 million. And that bond was to repair facilities. It was starting to show its age. They were designed for 20 years, and we almost met that. And we were starting to see a lot of wear and tear. So we did some repairs to facilities in 2009 and 2010, and that debt was paid off in 2015. In 2012, we know that we were saving our member counties money by going into this and getting out of the landfill business, but we didn't know how much. So we coordinated and conducted a study with Joyce Engineering, and that study compared if the counties had stayed in the landfill business compared with the transfer station system that we were operating. Well, that study showed that combined, our member counties saved a whopping $47.8 million. For Russell County, if you would have stayed in the landfill business compared to what it cost to operate, maintain, and have a landfill, it would have been an additional $14,190 out of your local taxpayer money that would have had to been used. For Buchanan County, that would have been an additional $15 million. Dickinson County, your neighbor, would have been $18.2 million. So this system has shown to be very successful. A lot of our neighboring counties got out of the landfill business. Washington County, Scott County, Lee County, Grayson, Bland, Witt. Everybody got out of the business back in 1992. Some other highlights that we've done over the last 27 years is we've worked with our member counties on strengthening their litter ordinances, strengthening their litter departments that they have, helping them train their litter departments, and we've helped them with updating the recycling rate reports. Back when I started in 2004, we were having a regional recycling rate of 12%. Now we average 30.2% every year. In 2016, another monumental year, we negotiated an extension on our contract. With that extension and that negotiation, we saved our member counties a combined $35,000 the first year. To give you an idea, in 1993, our tipping rates were about $41.50 a ton. Today, 27 years later, we're paying $34 on average for our tipping fees. In 2018, the authority had another monumental year. Through the leadership of the Waste Authority Board, and I want to thank Mr. David Eaton, his leadership and guidance. The Waste Authority, as I put it, we became an adult. We grew up and went out on our own. Before that, we were, our administrative services were provided through the planning district, and in 2018, we went out on our own. By going out on our own, we saved $50,000 for our member counties annually. And that's a huge savings. That's going to be shown on the next fiscal year. In 2020, this year, through the leadership of David and his fellow board members on the Waste Authority, Carl Ray also serves on our board. We're seeking a $20,000 or a $50,000 grant from VCTA to do a study. This study is looking at taking our solid waste that's generated and brought to our facilities in Buchanan, Dickinson, Russell, and changing it into compost. My board and I went down to Sevierville, down to Pigeon Forge. They have a facility where they take their trash and they're making it into compost. If you ever went to Dollywood, you see that compost all over the park. So we're wanting to look to see if this idea that they've been using in Sevierville was something that we could do right here. And that would drive down our costs for solid waste and drive down our costs for tipping. And we can make a product that we could sell back or give back to the public and take our trash and make it something that we can use. Some other notable, before we get into the user agreement, some other notables is the Waste Authority, through the 3 member counties, has updated our articles of incorporation, our bylaws, and those have been approved by all 3 member counties. I talked last week with the State Corporation Commission, and they said that everything looks fine, that they're just slow about getting an approval letter out, but the woman I talked to said that we should be getting that approval letter anytime. And last but not least, I have been spending a lot of time here lately. I want to brag on your all's employee, Mr. Brian Ferguson. Brian has been an invaluable resource we've been implementing a new computer software system at all 3 of our facilities. And we're coming into the new age of computer software and weighing at our facilities. And Brian, his resources and knowledge of programming has been a blessing. I know of about $6,000 that he's saved our 3 counties by his help and his, and Lonzo, I hope you convey that into the members of the board. I want to say thank you publicly to Brian Ferguson for his help. But anyway, other than that, on the user agreement, where we're at on the user agreement, our board, the Waste Authority Board, has signed the user agreement. For you all that don't know what the user agreement, basically, it states in there that we're to provide, the Waste Authorities to provide all the equipment necessary to operate the facilities. And the counties are to provide labor. It's just cheaper that way. If the counties, and that way back when the Waste Authority was formed, if the Waste Authority had to hire employees, we would just have to pass that cost on to the counties. And so all 3 counties agreed at that time that it was cheaper for them to provide labor. And the user agreement is an agreement that we're to provide all the materials and the counties are to provide labor. And with that, that's really all I got, unless somebody has any questions on.
Any questions?
So we've updated all the, now I know that I know what I know, so I'm going to ask you publicly.
Okay.
So we've updated all the articles of incorporation.
Yes, ma'am.
Everything is updated to be in compliance where we are
Yes,
on
ma'am.
this date today.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And everything has been submitted, just like the articles have been submitted. The attorney for Buchanan County and I, and Rebecca knows I chased her down in the beauty shop. I was in
I'm
the
getting
courtrooms. I went to the beauty shops, courtrooms, and everywhere else getting signatures. But I made personally sure that it was sent in for the State Corporation Commission, myself and Lee Moise, the county attorney in Buchanan. So everything's up to date, everything's in compliance, and membership.
Anything else? Happy to sign it for you. All right, thank
If
you,
you all
sir.
need anything in trash, let me know. Be happy to help you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, the next thing we will do, we will open the floor for our, sorry, he just marked it in the wrong spot. We'll move right along. The next thing we're going to do is open the floor for any public comments on our county noise ordinance. This is new. This is, has come about because we've had people come to ask us what they can do. What we want to do is to hear from you folks, from our citizens, the concerns you have, how we might address them, what we can do to make it better, what are your thoughts, and at this time when you do, if you care to come up, state your name and let us hear what we can do to make things better for you all.
Speak about it.
Give your name and address, please.
My name's Tommy Lynn Hess. I'm from Swords Creek, 137 Oakland Road, Swords Creek, Virginia, the northern part of the county. As far as I'm concerned, by what I read in this ordinance, it's a government overreach on the private property of the citizens of this county. And the reason I say that is I used to work day shift in the coal mines, and I'd work 8 to 10 hours a day when I was building onto my house, and everything I read in here says it's got to be stopped by 9 o'clock at night. I would work sometimes till 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I've got good neighbors. And they all understood what I was doing, and not a word was said. Stopping people at 9 o'clock, I mean, just telling anybody what to do on their private property, I think is out of line, in my opinion. We've already got laws on the book that addresses disturbing of the peace, do we not? Am I wrong on that? If somebody's disturbing the peace, there's laws to help take care of that. Question to you.
What this is, it's not a question and answer.
Okay, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I apologize. This is my first or second board meeting. I was at the Second Amendment. I'm learning, okay? But as far as the ordinance, like I said, I think that it's an overreach on the government's part. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else?
My name's Sean Vance. I live at 99 Willow Springs, District 1 in Lovelace's district. I agree with this gentleman here. I think it's kind of overreach on this noise ordinance. If you read through it, you know, and it states that, you know, any policy in the county reduces noise in the county, prohibited by excessive noise, but it doesn't tell you what is excessive or what isn't. It gives you no standards at all. So is a whisper too much? Whoever's making the judgment call, they having a bad day arguing with their wife and they're going to give me a ticket? So where's your standards? You've given them. The other thing is about the large party public nuisance, meeting together and 10 people or more. You tell my granddaughter has a party and we roll outside on the deck, I'm creating a nuisance and you're coming to give me a ticket for having a party for my granddaughter? So where's them standards? I mean, if it's, I misread this, then maybe y'all should have stated it a little bit better.
My name is Nathan Kaiser, 918 Green Valley Road, Lebanon. Steve Reed's my representative. I've also kind of approached the members. I've got something to give each one of you. Sorry, one's up. We're going to take one for you. But if you want, I can email it to you. So what I just handed out was, it's not from me, it's from Larry Hughes, another citizen, and he wanted me to make sure you all each had a copy of that. So that's his part, and this is my part. As far as the noise ordinance, this whole thing concerns me greatly because it is not defined at all as to what certain levels of noise is at all. And I've talked to several board members. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be a huge problem. And it might not be a problem now with who we have here, but it could be in the future down the road. And what you do is you open yourself up to abuse and retribution or infighting between neighbors. What you have to have is you have to have some defined parameters, and this is way too vague for my taste. It's way too wide open for too many different reasons. In one part here under section 1, or I'm sorry, the definition of a noise disturbance: a noise or disturbs reasonable persons of normal sensitivity within the county. What in God's green earth does that mean?
Come on.
That's out there. All right. Then we got any noise disturbance upon being found guilty thereof is fine. It's got a $1,000 or $100 fine, then a second of a $500 fine. Any noise disturbance, again, no definition. I'm not. Let me make it clear. I'm not completely opposed to a noise ordinance. Okay. But if you want to put something like this in place, you need to have some really clear definitions. And the same thing for the litter, but we're talking about noise right now. 8 a.m. is when the starting time on the radios and stuff. I'm sorry, folks get up to work and they're gone way before 8 a.m. So if you start your car up and still got the music going, there's a violation. I know I'm up to 3 minutes here, but as permitted, sound levels do be heard within a dwelling from outside. it's all, again, it's all very subjective, all very subjective. And to the gentleman's point before, there's several of these things in here that are so unclear that it could be a very, very clear definition of a violation of a right to assembly or like right to freedom of speech. Long story short, we could go on all night about this thing. The problem with this thing is it's not defined as far as decibel level. You have to go in, and I've read many different ordinances in preparation of this. Nearly every one of them has a decibel level definition as to what a nuisance noise is, a duration, and a point to which the duration or the noise is affected that person. So that doesn't mean I can go out on my porch and listen real closely and I can hear the neighbor. That means I have to be in my house or wherever I am, and it has to be bothering me in that point. Not me go over to my property line and listen for Coach Hooker's kids up there in the pool swimming around, jumping around hard and screaming. I'm 300 yards away, it's not bothering me a bit. But if I wanted to, I could make a point about it. So, I know I'm probably over the time, but that's my opinion on the noise ordinance. I appreciate it. If you all do want to pass it, please resubmit this with a more clear definition of what we're actually talking about, because this is far, far too reaching. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
My name's Daniel Mead. I live in Castlewood, Virginia. I really wanted to talk more about, sorry, I'm trying to get over a cold, this litter thing that we've been talking about.
Sorry, sir, we're on the noise right now.
Okay,
We'll be
well,
to litter in just a minute.
Let's talk about that then. Like I said, it is entirely overreaching. It's not clear on any of the points that you have in the ordinance. And honestly, I would like to know, how many calls do the sheriff's deputies take on this? I mean, is it really something that we even need? I mean, more laws, obviously, getting to the litter thing for just a minute, people don't care about your laws. You have an enforcement issue. You don't have a law issue. I'll be back.
Anyone else want to speak?
James Hamilton, 30377 US Highway 58. Some of us work nights. Are we going to do the same thing during the day for those that work nights trying to sleep during the day? I mean, you know, you can't take care of these people, but not take care of these people. You know, if I'm trying to sleep during the day and you're mowing your yard, that's the same thing as you trying to sleep at night and me outside building a patio or something like that. It's no different, so.
James. Anyone else? Noise ordinance.
Jim Little, 1660 Copper Ridge Road in Tim's district over here. First off, I want to add my endorsement to Mr. Kaiser. I think it's very, very vague, the definitions here. And I'll draw, as he did, attention to specifically Section 200 definitions, which I would think would be a clear point, and under what a noise disturbance is. And the second part addresses a noise or disturbs reasonable persons. Well, there are many times my wife does not consider me a reasonable person. I still think I am, but the point is, what is a reasonable person? Normal sensitivities, and I'll give an example there. For my time in the service and in Southeast Asia, I have a hearing problem. I also go into a little bit of panics when there's fireworks set off. I stay up from my place up on top of Copper Ridge. I hear the St. Paul fireworks go off. Okay, I know people love fireworks. I'm not going to fight against fireworks, but I consider myself a reasonable person, but I have a sensitivity to that because of that issue. So I think, you know, you need a defined definition. Now, taking that definition that you just had, I want to go over to subsection 5, schools, public buildings, churches, and hospitals. The creation of any noise disturbance, that would be something that would
harm someone, reasonable sensitivities there by your own definition, within any school, court, public building, church, or hospital, or on the grounds thereof. By that definition, I'm also the pastor of Churchill United Methodist Church. We can no longer ring our church bell on Sunday morning because we checked it down on Evergreen Road, and almost a half a mile away you hear our church bell. And by that definition that you've given us here, we can't ring our church bell even. And I know that there's a lot of other churches that, use their church bell. It's historical. I can remember my dad telling me of the church bells being used to bring people in to dig the graves here in the area. That's just a common thing. So what's a reasonable person? What is a true disturbance noise? And then you get down to me, I can't believe in a religious, God-fearing county that we can't even ring a church bell. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak?
Hi, I'm Michelle Vance. I live at 99 Willow Spring Drive in Tim's division. And you've heard a lot of us talking about there is not enough definition in this ordinance. I only have a suggestion for you. Go back to your job, do more work on it, and get it back to us.
Anyone else? Anyone want to make a comment, public comment on the noise ordinance?
My name is Jody Hicks. I live at 434 Wagon Wheel Lane in Lebanon. What I would say is I am fourth generation on my farm. I've lived here my whole entire life. My kids live in the same farm. Grandkids live on the same farm. And I do not think that y'all have the right to come to my farm and tell me what I can and cannot do. It's already bad enough that we pay taxes that amounts to a rental payment on our property. But now it seems like that we want a rental agreement, that we're living in a subdivision with a HMO. I build houses up to $1 million. I see how these places go. I don't want to live there. I've worked all over the East Coast, but I would not live there. Is this what we're looking for Russell County? Because it seems like to me, if that's what we're looking for, people that live here has two options. They can move and hunt for a life somewhere else, or they can change the system. Thank you for your time.
Next, anyone else? Any more comments on the noise ordinance? Noise ordinance. Okay, speak. Give us your name and your address, please.
Mark Rose, 173 Conley Street, Apartment 7, Lebanon, Virginia. And I think on the noise ordinance, the language in the noise ordinance needs to be definitive and specific, because like where I live in an apartment complex, it seems like the neighbors want to complain, some of them, about every little thing, about every little noise that you make or whatever, complain about when your family comes over to visit or whatever. The neighbors want to complain, they go to the landlord and complain about you. So it needs to be specific and definitive, the language, because if somebody that you live close to, in an apartment complex, or neighbors lives in another house close to you, whatever, if it's not specific, they're going to make excuses just to try to get you to move or get you out. And that's all I got to say about that.
All right. Anyone else?
Well said, I said, well said.
So
137 237 Road, Castlewood, Virginia. I've not read anything about this noise ordinance. I just heard about it tonight. But from what I'm hearing, you all can come to my house if I'm outside shooting my guns. I love to shoot guns. You send a policeman to my house, you can arrest me and take my guns. That's an infringement on my Second Amendment right there. Not only because you're telling me I can't shoot my guns because of the noise. All right, hit me, offend somebody a half a mile, 2 miles down the road. I shoot some pretty good sized guns. They make a lot of noise. If I'm out rabbit hunting or I'm out deer hunting and I shoot a deer or shoot a turkey or a rabbit, somebody gonna call the law on me and tell me I can't do that? How many of you in here like to hunt, like to fish?
Yeah.
You got a boat motor. You're testing your motor, you're working on it, whatever, you got that thing running, it's not in the water, it's loud. What are you gonna do? With these noise ordinances, you ain't allowed to do nothing. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none, we'll close the hearing on the noise ordinance. Okay. Next, we are readdressing our county litter ordinance. This is in place. It has been in place since 2010. We are working with VDOT, who will be putting up signs on the county roads that there is an ordinance for litter control. We are working with the Sheriff's Department and our community workers to pick this trash up. And as you'll see, we had our community work program and all the trash that they were picking up. This is an ordinance that is already in place, but we just want to reiterate with the VDOT that we are working with them, that we are trying to keep our trash picked up along our roadsides. Okay. Floor is now open for any comments on the county litter ordinance.
I'm Doug Mays from 1183 Scenic Hill Garden Drive, Lebanon. I want to comment about what's going on right now with Big Cedar Creek. It's a disgrace. Nobody's picking up garbage over there for litter. It's just, we got these people who don't care for our county. They have no respect for it. They're undesirable slobs. They pitch everything up the window, seems like they do from their bags, from their eating places. And I think we need to get something like some type of a litter control officer and buy some equipment that he can set up electronically and catch these people. I know we bought a camera several years ago. The thing never did work right or something. And I don't know if it's still around or not, but we need citizen patrol some way. I'd be willing to pitch in and try to help out to catch some of these people. Let's put them in jail or fine them so much that they'll take their garbage home where it should be and deposit in their garbage containers. And I'm talking about around homes too. There's been a lot of homes that just junked cars. Had to sue somebody one time to get them to move all their junk cars. Had to hire an attorney. Then we found out there is a county ordinance that's supposed to do this for us. It never gets done. We got all these ordinances. If we don't put them in effect and somebody work on them, they're no good. Thank you.
Now, since I'm in the right place. I don't have a problem with the ordinances. I have a problem with lack of enforcement. You don't fix that type of problem by passing more laws. You don't fix that problem by getting VDOT involved. You fix that problem by teaching your kids, teaching your community to value where you're at. And I don't care how many laws or ordinances you want to put in place, until you fix that, you're not going to fix these issues. Now, there's been a lot of miscommunication about what was in the 2010 version and what's in the 2016 version. I sat for 2 hours today and looked at both of these on my screen and like, they're the same thing, with the very few exceptions. One with being what is a trash bag and how big it can be, and a county building inspector can enforce these laws now. We were told, and it's on Facebook, that this one had no fees and you couldn't enforce this, and this one does, and that's just simply not true. What concerns me most standing up here tonight is that I don't think you all know what's in either one of these. So I would appreciate more communication between the board and the community so that we can get our ducks in a row so we can fix problems like this.
I'm not sure if this pertains because of the ordinance. Does this ordinance have anything to do with the stuff you want to do with the tube grinding, composting?
No.
Is it all the same?
No, sir.
Is it
No.
two different things?
Yeah.
I'm just asking the question.
No.
I'm ignorant.
No, this is later and that's it.
Do I need to say who I am again? Again, kind of echoing what Daniel said, yeah, the communication on this ordinance was pretty bad, I feel like. There's nothing on the website that indicates that this is the same ordinance, that it's being just reviewed and updated. I notice on the agenda it says that, but nowhere on the website does it. Not to mention, it's very difficult. I don't know who set up the website, and I'm not trying to be too critical here, but it's very hard to find ordinances on the website. There's no indication where there's anything that's going to be reviewed. You have to go to administrative, and then all through these different things. That's a whole nother complaint, but making it where we can find these things, where we can review them, so that we know what we're looking at, what we're talking about. I didn't get the 2010 ordinance in my hands to look at until 11:30 last night. That's pretty bad, because I couldn't find it online. Thank Lou Ann for getting that to me, but that's as soon as I had it. Just to find out and look at it today to see that pretty much everything's exactly the same, minus a few little wording changes. You know, the communication piece. That's the one thing. Is the only thing I'm going to say about it is that I would appreciate the board being more transparent, having these things where we can review them earlier, we can see them, we know what we're looking at. That way, when we have these public meetings, we know what the heck we're talking about. We don't sound like a bunch of fools. That's all. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak to the litter order?
I'm Jim Gwynn, 5589 Lower Copper Creek Road. I heard you talking about old cars. I have a few of them. When I decided to haul off what I had down there on my farm, I hauled them off a couple of years ago when the price was up. And some of these old cars are worth some money. I invest in old cars. And if they don't like the looks of them, stay on 71. I pay for the car, I pay the taxes, it's my place. If you don't like the way it looks, stay on 71. Appreciate all of it. Have a good
Okay. Anyone else would like to speak on the litter ordinance?
Still Jim Little, and I still live on Copper Ridge Road. Just a couple things. Again, you know, I think we need defined definitions very much. I think enforcement's the issue. I endorse Mr. Kaiser again. We've got laws on the books. What makes us think by having another public hearing here that the same ordinance is suddenly going to become enforced? Doesn't just happen like that. Enforcement's got to be, we need a definition. I'll use the example again. I have on my front of my house old horse-drawn hay rake, and I pulled up horse-drawn mowing machine that we've had, and my daughter painted them John Deere green and all of that. But we haven't repainted them in 2 years, starting to show a little rust there. Are they suddenly unsightly objects in my yard? No, of course not. They're part of the heritage. We're a Virginia Century farm, been in our family since 1898 as a continual operating farm. And that's just part of our heritage. Other point I want to make, again, back to enforcement. My daughter worked for stream sweepers this summer, okay? And they collected over 1,000 tires and over 3.5 tons of garbage. And we appreciate the supervisors recognizing them for that effort. But 1 month after they did that, they went in back at Old Castle Wood and went down to St. Paul and picked up 57 more tires that were all relatively new that had just been thrown over the embankment and down there. 57 more after these young people worked their butts off all summer. So the problem is more enforcement that I see. The other thing, just quickly putting on my tourism hat as the chair of the tourism board, it is important what it looks like when you enter the county. It is important what people see when they drive around the county. But that doesn't add to the encroachment upon my property owner rights here. And there's got to be a happy medium in there somewhere. There is a gentleman that we all know the place I'm talking about out on 58 near Dawn. Wow, my wife's getting at me from a distance. And I would say probably one of the places you all have talked about as being unsightly. I go to that gentleman and I get parts to weld on my tractor. I get parts for, I mean, one man's junk's another man's treasure, and I can always count on going there and finding something to fix a welding job I need. So we've got to find that happy medium in there, and I really would request you go back and look at it and tweak it. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it needs to be tweaked. Thank you.
This time then, we will close. No more comments? Okay, at this, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Charlie Hess from the East Lebanon District. Where's this litter along the roadways? At one time, we had a full-time litter control officer. The county fell on hard times and let him go. And I've asked the board before to hire a full-time litter control officer, give them some electronic surveillance to survey some of these sites and bust some people. Hefty fines or something, the word will get out. But it is a problem. It's an unsightly problem along our roadways for everybody. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Lonzo's going to address, make a comment.
We really appreciate everyone comment on this litter ordinance, and when we as the county, when we started working with the Virginia Department of Transportation, the Sheriff's Office, and that was one of the agreements that they were looking at. But as any program that you implement, it's in phases. The first thing that we had in place is, as Charlie mentioned before, there was a litter officer here. This ordinance was enacted in December of 2010. During that time, the county went through certain budget issues and the litter ordinance position was cut. In the meantime, we tried to piecemeal pick up from the county forces what we could do, where we could get it at and do it on our own. And the Sheriff's Department worked at that time in conjunction with VDOT. Well, now VDOT pays for this litter pickup, and one of their requirements is that they get enforcement, just like many of y'all have said. But the first thing that we got to do is to show that we mean enforcement. This is the first step back to it. This ordinance was 10 years old. The codes are still in enforcement, but this is a new board. If you look back at the old ordinance, it has Danny Brown and some of the older members. There's no one sitting on this board that approved this ordinance. So as a county administrator and as the administrator, we have to give the new board an opportunity if they want to either continue with the current ordinance or they want to update the ordinance. This ordinance is almost verbatim in what's in the Code of Virginia. So as a county administrator, any ordinance that comes up, we must give this new board an opportunity to correct what you are all saying in the public hearing. That is part of this. Now, I know that there's issues. We put it out in the paper, as you can see, on as far as the advertising on the links and the stuff. That's another thing we're trying to fix is the web page. We're getting the minutes up on the board. We're being very transparent. We're trying to get the ordinances up in the codification, and that takes time and process. But again, it's one program at a time. This is the first step. And what you've seen from our community work program, our sheriffs, these are your neighbors. The majority of the trash that we're seeing, 1,000 bags, is the traveling public. When they're traveling to Tazewell County, they're going to Washington County, they're throwing it out from McDonald's. This is what you're seeing. We have to have something in place to do this. Now, what does it cost? You guys, the community work program, they're doing it for free. VDOT is paying $120,000 free at state money. But this process has to be in place. The second phase of this ordinance will be to continue picking up trash, and then you'll see the signs go up. That's the second thing that VDOT will be doing in the county entrances, coming in from Tazewell County, Washington, Dixon, etc. But it's one step at a time, because I know every resident in Russell County wants a clean county, clean neighborhood. And I hope that's what brought you here today. So, thank you.
This time we'll close our hearing on the litter ordinance. And Mr. Grady, you had a comment?
Yes, ma'am. If it's appropriate, I'd like to make a couple of motions here. This is the appropriate time to do
Yes.
this.
Yes.
First, in relation to this noise ordinance, I don't disagree with anything that you said in relation to this noise ordinance. It's very hard to follow, and it's hard to tie down. It's very subjective. What's a nuisance to me cannot be a nuisance to you. So what I want to do, I want to make a motion that we table this ordinance indefinitely, and that before it's brought back up again, if it's brought back up again, that we will have ample notice to the public that we're bringing this thing back up. To me, it's going to need a lot of work, so that is my motion.
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion? Certainly.
If I may just make a comment briefly,
Yes.
I listened carefully to all the comments that everyone made, and some of the difficulty with the noise ordinance is it's based on nuisance law, and that's where that term, what would offend a reasonable person, that's grounded in nuisance law. And so I do understand, I think even for attorneys, that term can be confusing, but that is a reason why some of the language is so vague. So I do think that if the board does so inclined to make some revisions, there's no way to make it, I guess, as specific as I think what everybody would want. Also, there's no, generally, the General Assembly will codify certain regulations to put in, and there is not one for the noise ordinance. And again, it's my opinion, but my opinion based upon the law is that they have not done that because each locality would have different issues that they would need to combat, and it would be hard to make a uniform noise ordinance statute that would apply to the whole state. But I just wanted to address some of that, just because I think if the board does want to look at this again, it's still gonna be sort of a vague, it's not gonna be as specific as I think, all of us would want. But that is based upon nuisance, the prevailing nuisance law.
I think the one thing we'd probably want to do is contact the sheriff's department and see what kind of complaint record they do have with respect to that. I know I've had a complaint or two, but, that's just me. I think Tim's had a couple, maybe.
Actually, no. I have.
Lou's had a couple. Okay. So, but, that's what, 3, 4 at the most. I think we need to follow up on that. But I'll restate my motion again, is that we table this motion indefinitely, and before it's ever brought back up again, we have ample notice to the public that we're going to bring it back up and we'll have another public hearing on it.
All right, and David, second.
Madam Chair.
All right, yep. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right, Air, second motion. Steve?
In relation to the litter ordinance, I think it was a misnomer to call this a public hearing. I think if anything, this was probably a recodification, because I came to the same conclusion that most of the rest of you did, that it really hadn't changed any. I found some typos going from the old to the new, and like the size of the trash bag, it went from 39 to 30, and I'm sure that's trash. That's a typo. I don't want to make a 30-gallon bag, but at any rate, the only thing that I saw that really had been added was that we added the building inspector as an enforcement agent. And he's probably got enough to do as it is right now. So my motion is that we trash this proposed new regulation, and we keep the regulation we have in place right now, the ordinance that was approved in 2011, and we'll just forget about this ordinance that was supposed to be we're having a public hearing on. It was just misnomer to ever have it. So we'll just keep, my motion is to keep the ordinance as it is right now and forget about this new ordinance. And you're very right, it's an enforcement issue. And I've talked to Judge Moore about this, and Judge Moore told me personally, he said, if you can bring somebody to me littering, that I will make an example of. And I think that's exactly what it's going to take in order to get these pictures that we see. It's human error that causes that, and I don't do it, and I don't want anybody, I don't think anybody else in this room would do it, because you're here, and concerned about this issue. But there's people out there, I don't know that they're county residents or people just passing through or what it is, but we've got to address that issue. Enforcement's the only way to do it.
Okay. Steve,
I'll second that.
and Tim, second it. All right, further discussion?
I would like to say something, Madam Chair. Since Toby's here, our Waste Management Authority had met in regards to this with 3 county. We had voted to make appropriation for some new cameras and technology to partner with our sheriff's offices to help support this effort, and we will be bringing that back to the next meeting in regards to that again, and having communication. I know Toby's been in conversation with Buchanan and Dickinson, if I'm not mistaken, have litter officers.
You're correct.
They do. So he has been in conversation with our sheriff's office and with those about how we can partner regionally to maybe acquire, purchase some of these cameras to catch some of these individuals and bust them. It's really a disgrace. In all of our districts, Ms. Wallace and them had said it, in all of our districts, it's horrible. I mean, I don't know where the stopping point is, but any of you citizens that want to form a citizens project in your community, like a watch project to try to catch these individuals and video them, we live in an age now where you can video somebody. You can catch them. You can get their tag number and you can report it. So
I have. Called the county court off our police stations, and I give them the tag number, everything. So I've had more than once.
One of the persons that can initiate this enforcement is a county citizen. It's right in the ordinance. It's already there. So, And I think we're going to have to revisit the litter control officer. I don't know if we make them full-time, Charlie, but we need somebody, you know, to get out there. Because I know the sheriff's office has worked, they try to do it, but we need somebody to concentrate specifically on the litter.
Nobody's gonna throw the trash out there as a cop behind.
All right, we do have your motion to leave it as is. We have a
Madam Chair.
second in comment. Yes, ma'am.
We're still in discussion mode, right?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
I say, still in the
So according to your motion, Mr. Breeding, we are eliminating the building official piece in there?
Yes, ma'am.
And so.
That was never in the original
That's
ordinance.
gonna
That
go
was
back,
added.
just clarifying, so that's gonna go back to who am I calling for a complaint? And who are these people calling for a complaint? Mr. Lester? Who is that point person? I'm giving out your phone number. Call me, I'll give you his phone number.
What it says is litter control officer, law enforcement officer, public citizen can initiate a complaint.
Yes, I understand
I'll be
that.
calling Lonzo.
But just for clarity, I want these folks to know, because I've got people in the room that are screaming for help, and we need to make sure that our communities are safe, that they're attractive, and that the people that are paying their taxes to live in their homes are going to have a value added back to their home, not because they have to shovel someone else's garbage out of their driveway.
Any further comments?
And just to add to that, since this is, again, the phase reenactment of the current ordinance, and it's back on the table, and the board is not making any changes, it has an enforcement in it. So for right now, currently there is 2 deputies that run this ordinance, but it's on a part-time basis as they can do their other duties. But this will let us proceed to the next phase, which will give us an opportunity to look at a litter officer.
What's the time frame with that?
We're moving very quickly as possible as on this.
What do you consider quickly?
That will depend upon how fast we get through the budgets and the rest and make those determinations. So, but in the meantime, if you have a litter ordinance and it's major, and Missy Carter back our community work program, we are moving on all the primaries right now. As you can see, coming down 19, 58, if you've been down Route 80, 71, we will be going to what we call federal aided secondaries next. That's high traveled secondaries or through routes. There is a lot out there to do. We've got 2 10-man crews working continuously at a time with deputies every day that we can, even during the winter. So give us a little brief time. Missy has put it up on the community work program that if you've got trash, give her a call, send her a pic, she will put it on the list. So, and then we'll get the litter officer in place too. Missy Carter.
Missy Carter. Gonna guess, right?
She's already put it on Facebook. She's already put it on Facebook, so I can do that.
Okay.
I'll give that to you just as soon as the meeting.
Okay, any more comments? All right, all those in favor of leaving it as it is? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, I just want to say I'll be happy to sign that document, just whenever.
Send it on down to you.
Whenever we're ready down here to sign it and put our names on it.
Put all their names on it.
So it's no longer 2010, it is 2020. Thank you.
Yes, happy to. Next thing is the approval of our minutes. We've had 2 meetings. Our regular board meeting was January the 13th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Morris, January 13th. Do we have a second? This is January 13th minutes.
Second.
Tim, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All right, we need a motion to approve our minutes for the January 21st meeting. That was the legislative seminar in Richmond. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
Madam Chair, I just want to say I'll be happy to sign that document, just whenever we're ready down here to put our names on it. So it's no longer 2010, it is 2020. Thank you.
Okay, any more comments? All right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, we need a motion to approve our minutes for the January 21st meeting. That was the legal legislative seminar in Richmond. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
David, second. Steve,
I'll
any
abstain. I need to
discussion?
abstain.
Tim will abstain, he did not
I need to
attend.
abstain.
All right, and Carl, and Lou, all right? All those, Lou was there, but in the capacity.
But I wasn't. This might be an attorney question because I was there to end the meeting, but I was not there to begin the meeting. So how do you want me to vote on this?
And I've heard it different ways. I mean, I always think the safest course would be going at a meeting to abstain, but, you know, if you reviewed the minutes and feel like you can adequately inform of what they've been, you can vote to approve them. But as long as there's enough, if you feel more comfortable to abstain, that's fine.
I'll keep it that way. Thank you.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
And those that abstain, the three that abstained. Our next item is the approval of our expenditures for the month. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Make a motion to approve the bills.
Steve, second.
I'll second.
Carl, any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we'll open the floor for citizens' comment. Yes, sir. State your name and address.
I want to say something else about this litter control. A few years back, my friend and I, we traveled all over Russell County plotting these illegal dump sites. And believe me, there's a lot of them out there, and some big ones too. Cleaned up one a year, it'd take 200 years to clean them up. But this along our roadways, we've got to have some enforcement, strict enforcement. Some electronic surveillance stuff for our officer to use. Get some bite in it. It's just on paper, it just, get on board, it just don't work the paper it's wrote on.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other comments? Okay. Ms. Kelly?
Good evening. I am pleased to announce that we will have our first training session for the Citizens Water Quality Monitoring. It's going to be on Friday, the 21st at 1 p.m. at the Homeacre Library. We'll have one that'll be scheduled for evening or weekend coming up after that, but we have a captive group of monitors in the form of college students from Southwest. So we did that Friday afternoon thing for them. I hope you'll share the word about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, public or citizen comments?
Madam Chair, did we miss library appropriations that was advertised?
No, that's number 6 under request.
I put it under the wrong section.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
That's fine. I'm assuming I can make a comment here.
Yes, you have
I had
3
a com-
minutes,
I had a-
citizen comment.
I had a comment about the recycling thing you had with the solid waste management that you're involved with. I mean, as that process goes along, you will be putting out more information about that, right? Because I have a ton of questions about it. And all I've gotten off of it is what I can find on the internet about it, and what they put in the article and left in the paper. And I'm not happy with either of them at this point.
Well, we do have, the Waste Management Authority also has a website. And you're more than welcome to come to our meetings, attend any of our meetings, when we have our meetings. Yeah. I mean,
Because I think that's it's going to be a crucial part of the public waste, that is. You know what I mean?
It has to have so many tons collected.
Well, I understand that,
cost
but
for
when
it.
you had said something the other day, I think at the Republican meeting, was about them adding to our taxes, onto our electric bill, right? All that? Clarify. You know what I mean? I just want to make sure when the time comes, that it's there.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other citizens' comments? Anyone else? All right, seeing none, Yes.
I'd like to ask for some help in our end of the county. Again, my name's Tommy Hess, Soul Creek, Virginia. I just found out just a few minutes ago that Friends of Homeacre is trying to build a playground for our kids. We don't have anything on that end of the county for our kids. We travel to Buchanan County, Oakland County, for a swimming pool, for the playground and everything. I'd like to ask the board if you could come up with some funds to help Friends of Homeacre. I think it's a great place to put it. Where they're putting it, it'll be police oversight there to where it won't be destroyed. And as far as on the litter ordinance, I'd like to go back to that too. You can say that everybody in this room and everybody in this county wanted a clean county. I have to disagree with that. They wouldn't be throwing their trash out if they really wanted a clean county. And we need to see more enforcement, and I do agree with you on that. And I appreciate y'all going to Richmond and everything that's done.
Yep. All right, anyone else? Citizens comment, 3 minutes. Anybody else have anything they would like to address us with?
I just want to say one thing. I want to say that I appreciate Steve Braden for concerning the noise ordinance, making a motion to put it off indefinitely. And I appreciate any of y'all for being open-minded about the issues you've been talking about, because a lot of times elected officials don't take enough time to listen to the people, their concerns and everything. They pretty well do. They pretty well make decisions based on what they think. They're not open-minded enough, and I just want y'all to know, y'all being open-minded, about, a lot of the citizens' concerns and everything. I want you to know I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, last call. Public citizens' comment will be closed. Anybody else want to say anything? All right, we'll move on now to our constitutional officers and requests. Do we have anyone here with us tonight? No one's here. All right, our county attorney reports and requests.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have for the board tonight and it's a different agreement. Is Mr. Edwards still here? I believe he's gone now. The user agreement for solid waste disposal. I do believe he was talking about a manpower agreement, which is not what I have for your approval tonight. I can have that by March, which I think will be perfectly fine, because Dickinson County Board of Supervisors will not meet till the last Tuesday of the month, so they won't be approving anything until then. So our meeting would be the next Monday. But I do have the user agreement for solid waste disposal. It's something that has been worked on for, I think, several years now. The one main change that I requested to be made was that this agreement would be reviewed by each of the users, which would be Dickinson County, Russell County, and Buchanan County, every year. That way, if there are changes, you all can take that up each year. But I do think that this agreement is otherwise appropriate, and I think it's ready for board approval at this time.
Thank you. With that being said, do we have a motion on the floor to approve this user agreement?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Steve, do we have a second? David, any discussion? Any discussion? All right, saying none, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Now we have our county administrator reports and requests.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the county administrator reports, the first one on the agenda is the U.S. Census Initial Boundary Validation Program. Basically, all this is a validation to Russell County from the U.S. Census Bureau is now conducting the initial boundary validation program for an opportunity for the elected officials of Russell County to review the Census Bureau data program to ensure that we have the correct legal boundaries, names, et cetera, this went into effect. This was effective on January the 1st, 2020, as you can see highlighted. And we have to review the depiction of our legal boundaries for the accuracy and have it back to U.S. Census by March the 1st, 2020. Now, I have included it in your packet, have given up an opportunity to redo it. We will be validating this online through the survey. And these are the, I don't mean for the public to go through this, but these are the data. I'll get to the map. There we go. Take a look at the county map on the boundary sections, and for validation from each one of the districts. This is very important during our census for funding, grants, taxation, and the districts. So this is the first step in the validation. Second on the county administrator reports is the Virginia College and Department of Social Services. This is joint supported services that is offered through the SNAP education and training program implementation. It is through the Virginia college system has signed an agreement with the Department of Social Services establishing a partnership with the SNAP program and training. Now, there is a SNAP program in place, and that's for the kids. This is a new concept. This one is in with the college kids. This gives an opportunity, and that was one of the things that they pointed out, is that under the program we will be able to draw down the federal matching funds based on non-federal expenditures in support of SNAP recipients who are enrolled at your colleges. So we have kids, Russell County is sending our kids for the first 2 years through the RACE program. And one of the things that they called on, just not in this community, but other community colleges, we're getting them there, but once they get there with limited funds, they're not able to eat once we get them there. So this program will be able to give them an opportunity to be able to stay there, study, eat, and then get back home. So, and again,
and I'll address this by serving on the DSS board. What this program is for is when a child becomes 18 and they attend college, they are legally emancipated from their parents. Yes, parents might be paying the bills, but as far as showing grades, responsibility, getting money, they don't have to turn to parents, and they get, the more they apply for, the more eligible they can be. So it allows a student that's getting grant money, scholarship money, they might have that, but then they don't have money for housing, travel, and food. And once they apply for college entry, along with applying for scholarships or grant money, then while they're there, they can apply for food stamps, and then that helps them offset when they're living in an apartment or on their own. And it helps that college student, once they hit the age of 18, to have groceries, to have food at their house.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is an assistance to our college students that we're sending out to our colleges, and being on college, we're there a lot, especially going back and forth, and we get a lot of communication from them. This will be a great assistance with them. We're helping them out financially. They're struggling to get their books, but this program will help them with the food and being able to sustain and study the way they need to. Next is a report on the 2020 legislative forum that the Russell County Board of Supervisors attended from the 21st through the 23rd. As anyone that's had an opportunity to read the Lebanon News paper has looked at what we looked at. We talked with multiple funding agencies, legislators. We talked with the Department of Transportation, Department of Veterans, Department of Housing, Department of Conservation and Recreation, Tourism, and of course any other agency or legislator that would talk to us. And we were very successful. One of the things that Russell County is very successful, and this board is very successful at, is obtaining grant funds. And if you've been lucky enough, which we'll finally get the audio and video up and everything up, we can Google those out, you'll see that we, almost every time that we come, you will see grant funding being funded here in some capacity. We even have one tonight that we just added. But this is what, gives this board an opportunity to go advocate for Russell County, not just from a legislative perspective, but for roads, for bridges, for ATV trails, state parks. It is part of it. This is where it happens. If you do not show up, it will go to one of the other 94 counties in the state of Virginia. That's just the way it works. And they worked, I don't know if anybody slept for 3 days, to tell you the truth, did you? So, but it was meeting after meeting, and we were very successful at it. And you'll see more news on that to come. Thank you. Next on the county administrator reports, as part of this, I'd like to congratulate Heather Powers sitting back there. She is our new Russell County tourism person. She is representing, I see Jim Little, he's the chairman of the tourism board. He's the chair, and she will be assisting us in the Heart of Appalachia and the Russell County Tourism Advisory Committee, especially on these new initiatives that y'all will see that will be coming soon to Russell County. The next on the county administrator reports is the county registrar's office computers. This was something that the board requested from me. It's an update to ensure that we have a primary coming up in March, that this is an FYI report back that the computers are in. They have been tested on the Windows update. We have upgraded everyone. We are ready and implementing the last part of the expanded memory component, and those will be completed by the end of the week, hopefully, depending upon when it is, but no later. We hope we will have them in time enough for us to test them and the registrar's office to test them way before the time they need them. Next is the county administrator request. This is the Russell County Project Management Services contract. That we advertised for the RFP. On this one, I would like to ask us to have one more. I'll ask the board if they would consider one more additional meeting with the contractor before we proceed with this contract. At least one more meeting to follow up on the request for proposal, so to get a little bit more details and a little bit more negotiation. So I will ask for approval to move it to approval on the March board.
So moved, Madam Chair. Do we have a second? Lou, Steve, any discussion? We will hold off, we will have another meeting. We will meet with, discussing what we're going to do. We'll meet, and Steve and I are on this committee, and we will be meeting one more time, and then we'll bring it back in the March meeting. So, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next is also another very important program. This is Virginia's Next Generation 911 Proposal Acceptance Letter. This is also, y'all seen in a couple board meetings before, where we upgraded the Sheriff's Department to a digital system so we would have coverage for all Russell County citizens. This is an extension onto this from the 911 building capacity for the enhancement. It's a proposal acceptance letter that functions as a funding request. Again, Russell County's requesting funding for the 911 mitigation. Primary PSAPs and secondary PSAPs, that's what we are. The currently served as a select and rate of power are eligible to submit a PAL and request funding from the 911 Services Board. The PAL confirms that the PSAP acceptance of the information and their 911 mitigation proposal and signals their intent to deploy the NG 911. I need an approval to submit the 911 on behalf of the Russell County 911 Emergency Services.
Make that motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Opposed?
Next on the county administrator reports, a request is a mutual aid cooperation agreement for law enforcement services for Russell County and Scott County.
Oh, he has them all, Lonzo. They're all in here in the packet. This is a mutual aid agreement with our sheriff's department with the surrounding sheriff's office. I have one for Scott County, Buchanan County, Wise, Smith, Tazewell, Washington, and Dickinson County. It is an annual agreement where our sheriff's office works cooperatively with the surrounding counties, and then they reciprocate and send us one. So I need a motion for us to sign this.
Motion to authorize chairman to sign these mutual aid agreements.
I'll second it.
Let's see, second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Let me just say, there is just a couple of typos in this, and one of them I think is rather important, and the one with Tazewell, the dates are completely wrong. It's stated 2016, and it says, you know, it's for a 3-year term. It says 2016 to 2019, so I would approve it subject to that change.
Subject to the change.
And then also, my understanding with the Dickinson County Board of Supervisors that Josh Evans is now the chairman, so that's
Yeah,
incorrect.
and I noticed that there was some with those, so with changing those.
I will amend my motion
yeah.
to include
Reflect the new,
change
reflect the new, thanks, yes, Lou.
I know we're out of discussion and we've already voted, but Dana Kilgore, I don't believe, sought her seat again, so Wise County has a new chair of the board. I don't think Ms. Kilgore is on that board any longer.
This is the first time I've looked at these, and I assume this is a pretty standard agreement that's entered every, so I don't have a problem with it, because you can withdraw from it with a 15 days notice, but those were just a couple of typos. that I
Okay,
noticed
I
that
had
needed to be
assumed
addressed.
that they had checked all that with you. I'm sorry, Katie. So, still okay?
Are we okay with that motion?
Is you
or do we
okay with
just
that
need to
motion,
withdraw
or
it
would you
altogether?
rather withdraw it and let you look at it right?
Well, and I tried to catch you before you voted, but did
No.
everybody vote yes?
Okay. We can, yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody voted yes, which is a motion and a second.
I would.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we voted.
Yeah, you were
You were,
I turned it on.
you was turning the heat down. So, Katie, would you like for us?
I think just the cleanest way for the minutes would just to make a motion to rescind that.
Rescind it.
And then you can make a motion with the corrections.
Okay, Steve?
I will make a motion to rescind my motion.
All right. David?
I'll second. To rescind my.
The second. All right, all those in favor of the rescension here?
Aye.
So, would you like for him to state with the corrections, or do you want us to?
I would just approve the mutual aid agreement with the correct chairpersons and correct
dates. Okay, Steve?
I make that motion.
Okay, David?
I'll second.
Second. All right, we will do it with the corrected chairs and dates. So, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, we'll have Sheriff Dye correct all these, and then I will sign them later.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the county administrator reports is the Virginia General Assembly resolution of support. Get a skill, get a job, and give back what they're calling the G3 initiative. I will read this resolution. This is urging the Virginia General Assembly to support get a skill, get a job, and give back the G3 initiative, whereas Virginia economic competitive depends upon fulfilling 2.6 million jobs by the year 2026 will require more than a high school diploma but less than a bachelor's degree. And whereas the availability of a well-trained and educated workforce is the top concern of business in Southwest Virginia Community College's service area, consisting of Buchanan, Dixon, Russell, and Tazewell counties. And whereas 2 out of the 5 Virginia households within Virginia Alice population who work hard and earn more than official federal poverty level, but less than the basic cost of living. And whereas no fewer than 23 states, including Maryland, Tennessee, West Virginia, Kentucky, and 6 of the nation's 10 ranked highest for their economy and workforce, offer their residents opportunities to pursue community college programs at greatly reduced, and in some cases, no tuition cost. And whereas 3 of the 4 counties in the college service area generously cover the cost of tuition for select populations of other students, there is a significant need for additional funding for the underserved groups. And whereas a modest and fiscally responsible plan has been offered to provide low and middle income Virginia students more affordable access to a select group of community college programs leading to good jobs in high demand and high value career fields. Whereas the 3G plan seeks to include Virginia community college systems, fast forward training programs, and leverage that program success into a new pathway models designed to accommodate students in real life needs. And whereas the high demand fields in the G3, technology, healthcare, skilled trades, early childhood education, and public safety typically leads to wage gains of 60% for graduates and double what they contribute to Virginia's general fund. And whereas the G3 plan encourages effective college employer partnerships by including resources for apprenticeships related instruction. And whereas the G3 promotes economic and social equity by making life-changing and family-supporting post-secondary credentials more accessible and more affordable to every Virginian. Now and therefore, be it resolved, Russell County Board of Supervisors, that to get a skill, get a job, give back G3 proposal and the benefits it promises to Virginia students and businesses worthy of our support and advocacy in the transformative initiative. I need a motion.
All right, do we have a motion to provide this resolution with the Southwest Community College?
This was requested by Dr. Wright. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is part of what the General Assembly already has in place. This is in supportive of it, even though Russell County already has the race program. This will take some of our financial burden off of what we're funding and supplement us to where we can include more students.
It is trying to fill the high demand fields of technology, healthcare, anything in the healthcare field. And, oops, sorry, Steve. My ink pen flew the lid off. I'm just shooting with my ink pen cap. Sorry about that, sir. Skilled trades such as HVAC, plumbing, electricity. There is a shortage, and the governor's office and the community colleges are trying to fill these with this. So we need a motion to support this resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Lou?
I'll second it.
Okay, Horace, second. Lou? Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we'll sign it and send it to Dr. Wright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the county administrator reports is travel request approval form. This is for Bridget McLaughlin. This is out of the building department. This is for training for floodplain management. This is for a floodplain technician to attend in Stanton, Virginia. This is, as the floodplain manager, she will be my designated floodplain technician. So this will stay in compliance with VDOT, that's another requirement. Our floodplain, ENS, soil and water, stormwater, etc. DEQ, drink of water. I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
All right, David?
Second.
A second, Carl. Any discussion?
Yes, please.
Okay.
is this also gonna take care of, I realize that we have all these FEMA maps, and I might be getting in the weeds, so forgive me.
Continue.
So we have FEMA maps that, some of our properties are listed in one of these flood control areas that really does not exist. And so it's causing a hardship on a lot of our citizens because of their insurance policies. And then they have to pay someone like my husband to take them out of the FEMA system so that they can show this on their insurance and they don't pay these exorbitant fees. Now, I'm ready to vote with you guys, but I just wanted to throw this out there. So are we going to be able to get some of our property that's in Russell County and help our citizens that we're taking some of this out of the FEMA registration thing? I don't know what it's called, so forgive me. I'm all over the place, but are you following me a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I got it.
Thank you.
This is part of the, the restoration at the floodplain management. There's different levels of floodplain management. Some of the ones that's been declared in Russell County, in a lot of places that you live, it's in the floodplain whether you realize it or not. You'd be amazed to look at the DCR, floodplain management, and see what you're in. You're going, okay, I live 2,600 feet in elevation, I'm in the floodplain, but anyhow. The technician and myself will be implementing this program and being able to reclassify based off of those low-level floodplain levels. Each one of them carries a certain significance on home insurance that we can certify that they're not in the floodplain. The same thing that your husband is currently doing.
Is this
Yes.
training that she's doing for now?
Yes,
So,
sir.
right. So not that I don't want to make money for my company, but I don't want to make it on the backs of the folks who is unfortunately listed in some of these flood areas that does not in fact exist. But you guys will be able to help them so they won't have to come to people like
Yes,
my
ma'am.
company to ask for this. Okay,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
good.
And in continuance, one of the things that VDOT does, and y'all see in those ICAM reports now, all the floodplain management, those 60-page reports that we do. Now, the Department of Transportation, Conservation, Recreation, they have to be reviewed by floodplain management. So this is part of the process.
Okay, good, thank you. Madam Chair, I'm ready to vote.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, we'll send Bridget on a trip.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Number 6 is library appropriation, correct?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes. And again, this is a DEQ grant. This is I'm requesting the board for allocation of the DEQ Citizens Water Monitoring Grant of $3,056.82 to the library, so they can do their water monitoring test and program. Correct, Kelly?
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am.
David, a second?
Second.
Carl? All right, all those in favor of allocating this money through the library? Any discussion? Okay, all right, all those in favor? Aye. All right, any noes? All right.
Madam Chair, that concludes county administrator reports and requests.
All right, next we have any matters presented by the board. We'll start with Tim.
No, ma'am, not tonight.
Okay. Lou?
Yes, I've got to say this because I've had a constituent to call me. So Sandy Johnson, I have heard you and I got your message. I'm turning some information over about some road problems over to Tim over here because he's on the Highway Safety Committee and they will look at that. So we'll start there. Thank you.
Carl?
Yes, I would like for every time we have a meeting in the future is to go over these mics and make sure everything's set up and working properly. Next month and the months after.
Can we get some new technology?
We're working on
that. David?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. We're having for the public's knowledge, I'm hosting a concealed weapons safety class at the Honaker Church of God on Tunnel Hill Drive. At Saturday, February the 15th, starting at 11 a.m. There's already over 100 people signed up. Also, I am wanting to utilize the facility at Swords Creek at Givens Elementary. I've got to get with the deputies to set the date to do the class. But I just wanted to put that out there that if you're interested in taking a concealed weapons class to get your permit, Saturday, February the 15th at 11.
Steve?
Yes, ma'am, I have a couple of things. First, I got a letter in today. Sometime back, I'd written a letter on behalf of the Russell County Board of Supervisors, since we had taken over the Cassville Water and Sewer Authority. And there was a loan, a project out there. It was called the Lake Bonaventure to South Clinchfield Project. It was part loan, part grant, or principal forgiveness, as they call the grant. And I wrote them a letter and asked them to convert it all to principal forgiveness. It's been so long ago, I about forgot about it. We got a letter in this morning and said they had converted it all over to principal forgiveness. So it's about right at $140,000 in grant money that we'll be able to do that project with. So that was a nice thing to get. Another thing I've got is at the last Mountain Movers meeting, Mountain Movers is going to be part sponsor in an event that's going to come to some of the schools here in Russell County. And what they're doing is they're bringing a fellow in named Mark Miro, M-A-R-C is his first name, Miro, M-E-R-O is his last name. And he comes in and does these inspirational videos, and it talks about no drugs, talks about bullying, talks about goal setting and things of that nature, talks about trying to live the right life. And it's pretty well funded to this point, but I want all of you, all the board members, to go to YouTube and pull up this Mark Miro and watch some of his videos. And I want to come back at the next board meeting in March, and I want to ask for a donation to help with this program. I want to ask for at least $500 for this, because I think it's if you watch a couple of these things, you guys do the same thing. Go to YouTube, M-A-R-C, M-E-R-O. This guy he was a former pro wrestler of some sort, and he's been in and out of drugs, and he's now recovered, and he's out there preaching this message every day, and it's something that our students really probably ought to hear. So that's just for information purposes only.
Of course, you have any comments? Anything you want to say?
I'm just glad to be here. I want this going.
All right. Okay. The next thing I have is for my comments. We met today with the school board asking they're starting their process of their budget request, and they did ask about the insurance. So at this time, I'm going to ask Tim and Steve if they don't care to just remain on the insurance committee. I think continuity, they've done it before, being consistent, and they said they would meet in about 3 to 4 weeks. So you gentlemen care to stay on that committee. Okay, the next thing we do is we have to have a Russell County policy committee to review our policy manual for our employees. And I'm going to ask Mr. Christian, would you care to serve on that with me? We will meet with Katie and discuss those. All right, thank you. And that's all I have to say. All right, at this time, we'll ascertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
David. And
Second.
we have a second. Who is that? Tim. He's ready. And our next meeting will be March the 2nd. Here, at 5 if we have a closed session. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, we are adjourned until March.